It's 2025 tomorrow, and I think it makes sense to take a look and remember the victims of most of the major aviation accidents of 2024. I say most, as I have most likely missed a few smaller general aviation accidents that are not well documented, so let me know in the comments if I have. Before I start, I would like to thank the 6,000 of you who have subscribed. This has been an incredible year on YouTube, so thank you all so much. I've also created an Instagram account where I share aviation photos and videos and stuff like that. Link is in the description if you're interested. This video does contain disturbing images and videos, so viewer discretion is advised. If you don't want to see anything, click off now. Those of you who have stayed, let's get started. We had a terrible start to the year when on the second day in, January 2nd, a Japan Airlines A350-900, registration Juliet Alpha 13 X-ray Juliet, operating flight 516, collided with a Coast Guard de Havilland -8 Q300, registration Juliet Alpha 722 Alpha. The collision happened on the runway where the -8 was landing up for takeoff at the same time as the A350 was landing. Miraculously, even after the huge fireball that erupted from the collision, all of the 367 passengers and 12 crew on the total A350 survived the accident. Tragically, 5 of the 6 crew members on the -8 Q300 did not survive, with only the captain barely escaping with his life. Both aircraft were scrapped after the accident, after being completely burnt down. Just 3 days later, the 177 occupants of Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 were given a huge fright when an unused exit door flew off the Boeing 737 MAX 9 operating the flight. The aircraft, registered November 704 Alpha Lima, was only around 3 months old at the time of the accident. Everybody on board landed safely, as no one was sitting in the seats right next to the door. On January 23rd, a BAE Jetstream 32, Charlie Foxtrot November Alpha Alpha, operating Northwestern Air Flight 738, collided with terrain after diving from only an altitude of 140 feet. The aircraft only made it 1,250 meters from the end of the runway before the collision. There were just 2 crew and 5 passengers on board. There was only 1 survivor. Moving on to the second month of the year, on the 9th of February, a Bombardier Challenger 600, registered as November 823 Kilo Delta, operating Hoppajet Flight 823, lost both engines on approach to Naples Airport, Florida. The pilots attempted to land on Interstate 75, colliding with 2 vehicles before touchdown. Both pilots perished, but the flight attendant and both passengers made it out of the burning wreckage. 1 occupant of the vehicles was non-fatally injured. 9 days later, Air Serbia Flight 324, operated by Oscar Yankee Golf Delta Charlie and ERJ 195, overran the runway at Belgrade Airport after a miscalculation by the pilots. All 111 on board survived, but the aircraft was written off. In March, on the 5th, a Safari Link -8 Q300, 5 Yankee Sierra Lima Kilo, operating Flight 53, and a 99 Flying School Cessna 172, 5 Yankee November Juliet, collided mid-air near the departure airport. The -8 returned to Wilson Airport, Nairobi, with all 44 occupants surviving, but tragically the Cessna and its 2 crew fatally crashed into the nearby national park. On the 10th, LATAM Flight 800, operated by Charlie Bravo Golf, a Boeing 787-9, encountered rough air and dropped 300 feet in just a few seconds, throwing upwards of 30 people into the ceiling. 50 people were reported injured. On the last day of the month, the 31st, 727-5 Yankee India Romeo Echo, operated by ironically named Safe Air, undershot the runway due to technical issues. The aircraft collided with a stationary MD-82 after the early touchdown. 6 of the 7 occupants of the 727 survived. No one was on board the MD-82. On the 23rd of April, 2 Royal Malaysian Navy helicopters collided during practice for a military parade. There were 7 crew on the Augusta Westland AW139 and 3 crew on the Eurocopter Fennec. None of the crew survived. May was a relatively quiet month, though Singapore Airlines Flight 321, operated by a 777-300ER, 9 Victor Sierra Whiskey Mike, encountered rough air en route to Singapore. 104 passengers were injured, and 1 passenger died of a suspected heart attack. A Malawi Air Force aircraft crashed in a forest reserve on the 10th of June. Poor weather led the pilots to become spatially disoriented, and the aircraft, a 37-year-old Dornier 228 Mike Alpha Foxtrot Tango 03, impacted the ground shortly after takeoff. All 9 occupants did not survive. Next, a fairly modern aircraft, a Sukhoi SSJ-100 Romeo Alpha 89049, crashed during a ferry flight for Gazpromavia on the 12th of July. There was a disagreement between the flight computers that is supposed to have led to the accident. None of the three crews survived. Then, on the 24th of July, a Soyria, sorry about the pronunciation, Airlines Bombardier CRJ-200, 9 November Alpha Mike Echo, operating a flight to renew the aircraft's airworthiness certificate, crashed just after takeoff. The aircraft experienced a right roll after rotation, followed by a sharp left roll, then another right roll, before the right winglet impacted the ground. The aircraft only managed to gain 100 feet in altitude. Out of the 19 occupants, only the pilot survived. On the 9th of August, a Voipass ATR 72-500, Papa Sierra Victor Papa Bravo, operating flight 2282, entered a flat spin before impacting the ground. All 62 on board did not survive. 13 days later, a Thai flying service Cessna 208B Grand Caravan, Hotel Sierra Sierra Kilo Romeo, operating flight 209, crashed into a swamp 10 to 15 minutes after takeoff. All 9 on board did not survive. September and October were quiet months with no notable accidents. Or I may have missed them. In that case, please let me know. On the 9th of November, a Total Líneas Aéreas, 737-400 freighter, Papa Sierra Tango Lima Bravo, caught fire en route to Sao Paulo, operating flight 5682. The fire originated in the cargo hold, but the crew managed to land before the fire consumed the aircraft. Both pilots survived. Then, on the 24th, an Azimuth SSJ-100 Romeo Alpha 89085, operating flight 5051, experienced an engine fire on landing in Antalya. All 79 on board survived. The following day, a Swifter 737-400 freighter, Echo Charlie Mike Foxtrot Echo, operating flight 5960, crashed into a house on final approach to Vilnius Airport. The collision took the life of one of the 4 crew members. Everyone in the house survived. Moving on to the final month of the year, on the 13th of December, Bombardier Challenger 300 Lima Victor Golf Oscar Kilo came off the runway after failing to brake. The aircraft proceeded to crash into a house. Both pilots were killed. Then, on the 22nd of December, a Piper PA-42, Papa Romeo November Delta November, struck a chimney in bad weather. All 10 occupants of the Piper did not survive. The accident also injured 17 people on the ground. And, most recently, a few hours ago at the time of recording, an Azerbaijan Airlines ERJ-190, 4 Kilo Alpha Zulu 65, operating flight 8243, crashed after losing control. The aircraft unsuccessfully attempted to perform an emergency landing over 400 kilometers from its original destination. After performing a go-around, the aircraft impacted terrain 3 kilometers from its diversion. Miraculously, 29 of the 67 occupants survived. Here is where the original video was meant to end, but just 2 days before the end of the year, on the 29th of December, an Air Canada -8Q400, Charlie Golf Papa November Alpha, operating flight 2259, landed without the left gear. The aircraft scraped the runway with the left wing, creating a fire. All 73 on board survived. This was followed by the tragic accident involving a Jeju Air 737-800, Hotel Lima 8088, operating flight 2216. The aircraft overran the runway while performing a belly landing. This accident happened just 4 hours ago at the time of recording, so there is currently no confirmed cause. 179 of the 181 occupants are confirmed killed, and 2 are injured. This is the deadliest accident of 2024. The third accident that day was a KLM 737-800 Papa Hotel Bravo X-Ray Mike that overran the runway after landing with hydraulic failure. The aircraft was operating flight 1204 and diverted back to its departure airport, Oslo. This accident did not claim any lives. This video is meant to be a quick recap of 2024's aviation accidents, not an in-depth look, but if I have missed something important out, please be sure to leave a comment. This was a terrible year for aviation, and I leave my condolences to all the victims and their families. Thank you for watching.